Hello, and my name is David Bailey. I'm Director of Carmel Research School, and I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about interactive in remote learning. This is a short session, so I'll be concise. When I started to look into this session as to what I thought would start with is what the evidence currently suggests. Now, the EEF have put together a piece of work with the EdTech Hub, and what they've done is they've commissioned a review of all the most reliable evidence of over 60 systematic reviews and meta-analyses, and drawn all together about what it says about remote learning. Now, they've come up with some very straightforward recommendations, and most of them seem relatively simple and straightforward. And I think the first one is the area in which I'm going to focus on. The idea of teaching quality is more important than how lessons are delivered. There are others to think about as well, and it's well worth looking into that document, although they do say themselves that this was designed in a situation that wasn't like the current situation, so we know it's not as straightforward as if you planned for this. Now, if you look into that first recommendation more clearly, they draw across this idea of ensuring that the elements of effective teaching are present. For example, clear explanation, scaffolding and feedback is more important than how or when they're provided. Now, I think that's some examples, but let's look at a slightly more exhaustive list. There are probably 8 or so elements of this idea of effective teaching, and these are drawn from things that you might find in Rosenshine and so on. Lots of different ideas all drawn together, these key elements of effective teaching. Now, although these are all important, for this particular session I'm focusing in on just a few of them. Find out what they know and teach them the next bit, helping them to focus on the right learning, checking understanding and providing feedback. Now, in the report they talk about asynchronous and synchronous sessions. So just for clarification, synchronous is live or real-time sessions, and it's quite straightforward to see how that could be interactive. You can interact with pupils over some kind of live link and so on. School is allowing you to do that, and you could perhaps have live lessons where there can be some form of interaction. It also talks about asynchronous, this idea of not in real time. And those are much more flexible. They don't require you to be there at a particular time. You can go back over things, go at your own pace. One of the drawbacks is that it's not quite so straightforward to be interactive. However, as you can see from this table, what I've done is given some examples of how those not in real-time sessions, those asynchronous sessions, can be made much more interactive. Now, the first is kind of your pre-recorded video, your standard lesson, but in part of it includes some questions to make sure that the children have to reflect on what they've heard and perhaps give a response, and those can be sent in to you by whichever form you're using. The second one is the kind of standard question, worksheet and answer and feedback. Now, I think that's what lots of schools are doing. The drawback is it's quite time consuming, and it also means that it's quite hard to tell which part you're doing. You can send out differentiated worksheets, but it is for the child, or perhaps the child plus parent, to make those kind of judgments. Another option is this idea of an online quiz that marks itself, and that is a way of giving feedback in a less intrusive bit. And if you think about it, there's lots of teachers, if you all do parts and quizzes, although they're hard to set up, if you share your work with other colleagues, it means you're setting up less. And the final one is this idea of a branching quiz, and this is the one I've got an example for here. So I've put a link into this presentation which you can follow and have a look at the quiz itself, but I'll tell you how it was constructed. So it was constructed using Google Forms, a simple Google account. You don't need a school-based Google account to do this. And what it is, it's a 3-part question, and it's divided into 3 sections. So you can add sections to this, not just new questions. Pretty straightforward, only took a few minutes to do. And this one, if you choose the first answer, you go to the right answer, or you choose the wrong answer, it will take you to a different section. So section 2 is assuming you pick the right answer, it says well done, and perhaps gives you more questions or takes you on a journey to go and learn something new. If you look at getting the wrong answer, and there are 3 wrong answers here, all of which take you to this 3rd section, and what that will do is either give you extra help or give you extra information, or perhaps look at a video in different ways, all of which you can link into the form itself to allow you to go back and review things. Now that allows you to perhaps help decide whether the child needs to actually look at it. By ticking the required on each of the questions box, what that does is allows you to actually make sure that the children can't just skip it to the bit that they want to go to. Now that is one way to make things a little more interactive. Remember, it doesn't matter so much how, what matters more is that interactivity. So whichever way you're using, be it synchronous or asynchronous or some combination of the two, do think about increasing the interactivity in that remote learning.